The following is a true account of the last moments of Anton LaVey's life. He was the founder and high priest of the First Church of Satan, the author of the Satanic Bible, and the founder of LaVeyan Satanism.
It's a little bit off subject, but the same kind of principle. I heard that, and I won't mention his name, but it was a big leader and founder of a huge satanic organization. And he was on his deathbed, and for a Satanist at the time of death, it's a great victory for them, because death is a huge thing that they celebrate. And he was getting ready to die and pass on his powers and that. And on his deathbed, he must have got some revelation or an angelic appearance or something, and he went into shock and he said, "Oh my. Oh my, what have I done?" He said, "There's something very wrong. There's something very wrong. There's something very wrong."
Wow.
And his whole life had been spent propagating these satanic beliefs, getting everyone to believe, establishing official organizations for Satanism. And then at the end of his life, he gets this light that comes to him, and everything that he'd built, he realized was wrong.
Turn up, Tito.
Sir Thomas Scott, the Chancellor of England, said the following on his deathbed: "Until this moment I thought there was neither a God nor a hell. Now I know and feel that there are both, and I am doomed to perdition by the just judgment of the Almighty." David Hume, atheist philosopher who's famous for his philosophy of empiricism and skepticism of religion, cried loudly on his deathbed, "I'm in flames." It said his desperation was a horrific scene. Voltaire, famous anti-Christian atheist, said on his deathbed, "I have swallowed nothing but smoke. I have intoxicated myself with the incense that turned my head. I am abandoned by God and man." He said to his physician, "I will give you half of what I am worth if you will give me 6 months of life." When he was told this was not possible, he said, "Then I shall die and go to hell." His nurse said, "For all the money in Europe, I wouldn't want to see another unbeliever die." All night long he cried for forgiveness. C.R. Borgia, the atheist statesman, said on his deathbed, "During the course of my life I have made provision for everything, but I forgot about death. Alas, I die unprepared." Thomas Paine, the leading atheistic writer in the American colonies, said on his deathbed, "Stay with me. For God's sake, I cannot bear to be left alone. O Lord, help me. O God, what have I done to suffer so much? What will become of me hereafter? I would give worlds if I had them, that the age of reason had never been published. O Lord, help me. Christ, help me. No, don't leave. Stay with me. Send even a child to stay with me, for I am on the edge of hell here alone. If ever the devil had an agent, I have been that one." Napoleon Bonaparte, the French emperor, who, like Adolf Hitler, brought death to millions, said on his deathbed, "I die before my time, and my body will be given back to the earth. Such is the fate of him who has been called the Great Napoleon. What an abyss between my deep misery and the eternal kingdom of Christ."
What an abyss between my deep misery and the eternal kingdom of Christ.
Hello, I'm Liam Neeson, and this is urgent. Right now, over 400 million...
It's very easy to be an atheist when you have done all of that. Man can sit back and say, "I don't need God. What is God?" But it's very difficult to be an atheist when you're laying on your deathbed, because you begin to think, what if these people are right? See, there'd been one man by the name of Ron Short that has stood between me and the gates of hell. One man that had witnessed to me about the love of Jesus for 5 years before I became ill. One man. And, you know, I would debate him, and I liked him because he did what he said he was going to do. I mean, he was the only one that I saw that professed to be Christian, that lived what he said he was going to do. And so I really respected him. I didn't believe what he said, but I respected him. But when I'm laying on my deathbed, And knowing that I'm going to die, guess who I thought about? I thought about, what if Ron is right? What if there is a heaven and a hell? And so the most immediately, the most pressing thought in my mind is, how do I get saved? What is saved? What is saved? How do I get saved? And so I sent them for Ron Short. I wanted him to come down because I wanted him to do what he had to do. I had no idea. How can a man hanging on a tree in Israel 2,000 years ago, what is that to me? But I knew that he had something that I had to have. And that night, see, I had him go for Ron, but Ron wasn't home. Ron was in Alabama. And so I had him go and send for Ron. And that night was the longest night that I've ever had in my entire life, before or since. And that night is, as I would be laying there in bed, as I'm laying there in bed, I would begin to fade away. I would begin to fade away, and as I would fade away, I would begin to go down. Now, it was like darkness. It was so dark. It was like the very darkness just penetrated into your very, very being. And as I left, and I can tell you I left my body, because I remember when I came back into my body. You know, I don't know where I was out of my body. Now, there are people that talk about a light. There are people that talk about floating above. There are people that talk about a feeling of warmth and love. I didn't feel any of that. I felt none of that. I felt untold terror. Untold terror.
He went into shock and he said, "Oh my. Oh my, what have I done?" He said, "There's something very wrong. There's something very wrong. There's something very wrong."
Because I knew that if I ever went all the way, if I slipped all the way, I would never get back. Now, in my beings of beings, I knew that. And so I fought all night long. They told me later on, I not only pulled the mattress cover off of the mattress, I pulled the mattress up on me, because I had to stay. I had to wait. I had to wait till Ron got there. Whatever he had to do, I had to wait. But I would, again, and then I would leave, and I would be going down like a deep, deep, dark terror. Now, my skin began to get cold. Now, it's not like cold when you walk out into the air. It's like bone chilling cold in my lower extremities, and you can feel the coldness begin to come up the legs. And again, I would begin to leave. Now, and I would be in that darkness, and I'd be in that void. And I remember one time entering back in my body, because when I entered my body, it was like, just like that. I felt my body thud. My physical body thud when I entered back in. Now, believe me, that is the most horrifying, terrifying experience that I've ever encountered. And I fought all night long, and the next morning, somewhere 9:30, 10 o'clock, in came Ron. And Ron came in and he says, "Dr. Whitaker, what do they say is your chances?" I said, "Ron, they tell me I have none." He says, "Now's the time." And I said, "You're right." I mean, I'd cursed him, I'd spit at him, but now was the time, because I had to have whatever he had, because I had a short period of time on earth, and I didn't have any idea when I might make that trip and go all the way.
How to beat the heat if you're struggling to stay cool in hot, stuffy rooms without an air conditioner. This quick solution will take
Gandhi, at his death, said, "For the first time in 50 years, I find myself in the slough of despond. All about me is darkness. I am praying for light. Atheist Robert Ingersoll, an American writer and orator during the golden age of free thought, said on his deathbed, "Oh God, if there be a God, save my soul, if I have a soul, from hell, if there be a hell." David Strauss, leading representative of German rationalism, after spending a lifetime erasing belief in God from the minds of others, said on his deathbed, "My philosophy leaves me utterly forlorn. I feel like one caught in the merciless jaws of an automatic machine, not knowing at what time one of its great hammers may crush me." Thomas Hobbes, an atheist who's considered to be one of the founders of modern political philosophy, said on his deathbed, "I say again, if I had the whole world at my disposal, I would give it to live one day. I am about to take a leap into the dark." The French king, Charles IX, gave the order for the massacre of the French Huguenots, in which 15,000 souls were slaughtered in Paris alone and 100,000 in other sections of France for no reason other than they loved Christ. The guilty king suffered miserably for years after that event. He finally died, bathed in blood bursting from his veins. To his physicians, he said in his last hours, "Asleep or awake, I see the mangled forms of the Huguenots passing before me. They drop with blood. They point at their open wounds. Oh, that I had spared at least the little infants at the bosom. What blood! I know not where I am. How will all this end? What shall I do? I'm lost forever. I know it. I have done wrong." In a Newsweek interview with Svetlana Stalin, the daughter of Joseph Stalin, she told of the Soviet leader's death. "My father died a difficult and terrible death. God grants an easy death only to the just. At what seemed the very last moment, he suddenly opened his eyes and cast a glance over everyone in the room. It was a terrible glance, insane, or perhaps angry. His left hand was raised, as though he were pointing to something above and bringing down a curse on us all. The gesture was full of menace. The next moment he was dead. For perspective, compare these terrifying deathbed experiences from atheists with these last words from these saints of God. In 1 Corinthians 15, the Apostle Paul said, "Death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy sting?" In Psalm 23:4, King David said, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." Augustus Montague Toplady will ever be famous as the author of one of the most evangelical hymns of the 18th century, Rock of Ages. During his final illness, Toplady had this to say, "The consolations of God to so unworthy a wretch are so abundant that he leaves me nothing to pray for but their continuance." Near his death, awaking from sleep, he said, "Oh, what delights! Who can fathom the joy of the third heaven? The sky is clear. There is no cloud. Come, Lord Jesus. Come quickly." He died saying, "No mortal man can live after the glories which God has manifested in my soul." Lastly, Jesus Christ said, "I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth on me, though he were dead, yet shall he live." To wrap this video up, only fools never learn from history. And it's amazing that even in modern times, with all the information in the world available at our fingertips, anyone with a mind can still choose to devote his entire life to a delusion. No wonder the Bible tells us in Psalm 14:1,
Only fools say in their hearts, there is no God.